For demonstration purposes, I have decided to use single layer because I have a very small scrap of fabric to work with. You guys will have plenty of fabric to use. So whenever you're going to pin a pattern piece to fabric, you want to start by pinning your four corners. So we're going to pin this corner, this corner, this corner, and this corner. So you go into the fabric with the pin. You may or may not be able to see this. And then you come through the back, and then you come right back through the front. Now obviously you don't want to pick this up when you're pinning. I did that purposely to show you how to pin. So for the rest of these, I'm going to pin with them flat on the table. So as you're pinning, you want to make sure your fabric underneath is nice and flat, there aren't any big wrinkles, and that you have a very flat pattern piece as well. So I'll put the next one in. Now you can see that I have it all the way in my fabric. It's touching the table. Now I'm going to use my thumb to create a little bend in the paper so it'll allow my pin to come right back out. I'll show that to you on this side since you probably couldn't see it with my hand in the way. So nice and flat fabric, flat pattern piece. You go into the fabric, use this to bend the paper a little bit, and then push your pin right back out. The pins I'm using aren't the greatest because I don't have all my supplies with me at my house. So these are actually hand sewing needles. You'll be using real pins to pin these, and in fact I suggest getting the really, really long pins because they're the nicest with the biggest yellow balls on them. I do suggest also pinning in the center of each, again making sure everything's nice and flat and perfect. The better you pin your pattern piece, the better the shape is going to turn out in the fabric. So if I don't pin this well, I'm not going to have a perfect square cut from fabric when I go to take my pattern piece off. So you want to make sure you pin this up real good. Now we are going to use our fabric scissors. Notice these are bent edge scissors. These are meant to cut on the table like this. So these are supposed to run along the table, meaning you're not supposed to pick up your fabric while you're cutting. You want to keep that fabric against the table with your scissors against the table. So personally, I like to, because I'm right-handed, I like to hold the scissors with my right hand, have the pattern piece on the right-hand side of my scissors, and use my left hand to hold the excess fabric. It makes it a little bit easier because it helps me to just glide these scissors along the edge of the pattern piece. Typically, you have a better table and you can actually maneuver around this whole thing without actually turning your fabric, especially when you have large pieces to cut or giant pieces of fabric that you're cutting from. But since I have a very small piece and I've pinned this really well, I'm going to turn my fabric. And I'm working at a huge dining room table. So now I need to cut 9 more of these to get my 9 pieces. You can see that my pattern piece, except it's wrinkled right here, took on the shape of my pattern. My fabric took on the shape of the pattern piece. And now you can take your pins out. I do highly suggest ironing this so it's nice and unwrinkled. And I'm actually going to show you how to iron your fabric pieces after all 9 are cut out.